The Silent Guest, and other confessions. I don't know why I'm doing this. And it's a need to confess, to lift this weight of being carrying for years. I used to think they were just childhood nightmares, those stories wine vant to cope with their fear of the dark. But after the third thing happened, I knew it about art I was seeing. It doubles out WHT was seeing me. ASNTIT. Hard to talk about it. It's as if, by giving voice to these memories, I make them real again. ND the Fabaracombs visceral once more. But maybe, just by writing this down will give me some measure of release. Who knows? What I do know is that these three experiences stole something fundamental from me, the feeling of safety. And THT, if I never gotten back. The first time I felt the world wasn't a safe place was at my grandparents'. HOUSEI, the silent guest every summer, my cousin Francisco and I would spend our holidays at their house in Thekentrazite. It was an old house, filled with the smell of wood and fresh-lipped cocks, the safest place in the world. We slept in the same room, in the attic, under a roof that seemed to protect us from everything. The fear started subtly, almost imperceptibly. I would wake up in the middle of the night, not because of the noise but because of felling. The feeling THTIYA isn't lonely. The first time I opened my eyes and saw our figure standing in the corner of the room. It wasteful, dark, and completely motionless. My first reaction was the most childish Schnumfort one. It was my grandmother. She had a habit of checking on us. I thought, it's just Grandma checking on me. I closed my eyes and tried to go back to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come. I could feel the presence, and Grandma never stood still for that long. I opened my eyes again. The figure was still there. I turned to Franciscan, who was in the bed next to mine, and he was motionless, his pig tone. I called out to him, in a whisper, but he didn't answer. I looked back at the corner. There figured he didn't move at an inch. There was no sound, no breathing. Just the dark silhouette against the faint light coming from the street. I huddled under their heart-pounding eighth light. It's my blanket. I pulled it up to my chin and tried to ignore it. I could feel middle drum in my chest. I was scared, but I still tried to rationalize. It's just imagination. The next DUI, he asked Francisco if he had seen Grundet. He was doing, and his silence was more terrifying with wide eyes, and said, Ina, low voice, you saw it. In our room last night. He stopped Nani's scream. He looked at. That moment shattered my innocence. The February came shared, and TH to modded real. I pressed Francisco. He told me he HDPP now and then, I'll run parent, but their eyes, standing all deed, like he was mean seeing the figure for years, but he would days watching. He told me he tried to talk to a rocking it up. So, he developed a rule. If you wake here pond, see it, don't move, don't open your eyes. Pretend you're asleep, and then talk about it. His rule was answering the questions. He hasn't donned the septet, that there what the only way to survive was something in the house. As to ignore it, that night I woke up the edge of mib from it. A cold gun, and the figure was there. But this time, it was closer. It wed. I couldn't emeki out the features, but I could feel the cold not wasn't from their conditioning, but from something dead. As Atingi remembered Francisco's rule, I squeezed my eyes shut. I could smell dustmala of something old, something fade. HDB in, therefore, AO and breathing, shortened, rapid. I was paralyzed by fear and mold, a very long time. I could hear I felt the presence lean over me. I don't know if it was pressure, but I felt something. Something THT, may motionless, eyes closed, waiting for it to leave, as I touch, or just the tits me hold my bringing off. I lay there, and it did. I don't know how long it lasted. But when the sun rose, I knew I stopped talking about it. The fever was serried, but not forgotten, had survived. Francis Conto, this DY. I don't know what it wooing my grandparents didn't. No of the two options is more terrifying, as whether it was a ghost, or whether it was a humnabout living in the house for years. I don't know which. 2. The Sultan de Lister's second story is from when I went to boarding school. I was a kid named Weston. He was strange, socially quad, but seriousness. He didn't know what humor was. As 13 I shared at, bothered me while room with us. It's a right wire, he jav me a list of things I was snallowed to bring into the room. The list, wool bazard, no frogs. As if I would ever bring a frog into the room. But the strangest item wasn't. He was emphatic. No salt, I tried to rationalize. Maybe a theology, but he was so serious, so intense, that it gave me the chills, a shield so. A special bite of muttering to himself. Not occasionally, but whispering continuously, at night when the lights were low. I'd catch snippets of phrases, as if he were talking to someone, but no one was ever there. It was freaky, but like everything else, I got us to it. WHM, it really unsettled me watchers. Curiosity got deepest, the notebook. He got at it with his life, hidden under his setter of me. 1 DY, when he was out, I searched and found it. Most of it was empty, but few pages had writing on them. They were lists of names, names of students at the school. Many were scratched out. I frantically scanned for Mint found it. It was on one of the last pages, and it wasn't crossed out. I didn't know THT minute, a list of people he didn't like, but the sick feeling I got seeing my name. There, made me think. Weston Wenquad kid he protected it, as more than just Piranaway was glaring Kens in me. I started spending more time out of the room. I could have sawn at me more THN before. Then, one night, my paranoia was justified. I woke up in the middle of the night. It doubled, I thought it was his whispering, but no. I opened my eyes, and Weston, towering over mibed, smiling as pictures, literally, the shock made me scream. I sat up in bed, gasping. He didn't move. He didn't even flink at my scream. He just kept smiling, his hands slightly raised, as if he had been frozen mid-motion. I demanded to know WHT he was doing. He just said, with that monotone voice, "You were talking in your sleep?" That hollow response explained nothing. It didn't explain why he win the morning, smiling like that. He went back to his bed, without wake the rest of the night. As standing there T1 of the word, I stood a week later. I come back to the room found a Scridge's manch. Weston was at his desk, with harmless prank, garden sank on mibber blank expression. He'd a live snake. I apologized, said it facetious, where he will never forget. WHD even gotten a snake. He looked at me confused and said something at do you me on. They're everywhere. What terrified me was Wimply slithered right in, acting THTWAAY.T, hoppin' next. He opened needle on its own, as if it were on his desk, and the stead tobe captured. A wild denim kelthabrick point, camera swirling on the ceiling. It terrified, unable to move. AFEW days later. I was in sleep paralysis. I saw as like a cloud, but it pulsed, as if it were Bradarkim thing. I was sas a claw, or something like a claw, emerged from the mass and started scratching my bed frame. And then it started reaching for me. Be but rum, MSME, for it could grab me. It recoiled abruptly, as if something HD bond or scared it odot, and then it went completely crazy. It flew around the room, knocking things over, aging through the closet, and in one abrupt motion, it flew toward the wind, down-dushed right through it, disappearing into the darkness outside. The second I heard the glass shaglass was actually shattered. Shreplikaf, my nightmare. TTER, my eyes snapped open. I was awards, were falling to the floor, the room waking. But the window as an eye was still paralyzed. I tore my eyes away from the window and saw it. There were long, deep scratches on my frame, exactly where the claw in my dream had scraped. Fear freed me from the paralysis. My first thought was that Weston had done it. I went to his bed, but he was fast asleep, snoring. I shook him, desperate for him to wake up. I was afraid of him, but what truly terrified me was sleep. If the nightmare hadn't been an ignorite, because of something, as the possibility, Thera, if the creature WT was real, Oz genuine land, if it he'd I left the room and never went back. I changed rooms the next day, Weston shortly after, because of the window, but I never knew what the creature recoiled, and I never knew why Weston hated salt so much as Expelladus, or why it. 3. The sealed window. The last story is the one that left me with Narrow Townhouse. My room with a housebound hours, just 20 feet of physical traumas on the 3rd floor. WAAY.A. I was 9 years old and lived. I known the window looked directly into for a long time, the window in that there. She looked tobe, miage, dark wedbok. CK room was empty. But one day there was Aguilera, and she wore a low sweater. She duvet, and we created a routine. She was always there at 3:30 after school, always in the same sweater. We played games with mimes. She would show me drawings. The strange detail was that she never opened her window. I would open minind, try to talk, but she would just smile and point to her ear as if she couldn't hear me through their glass. I assumed her parents were strict. Yes, good, my mum about her. My mum said the Murphys, an elderly couple with no children, lived there. She suggested it might. Bever saying granddaughter. Teat made me sad, because it meant she would eventually leave. But she didn't. She was there almost every day. A few weeks later, I woke up, it was her. She were around 2 in the morning topping. I went to the window, as in smiling. She pointed down to something I couldn't see, and put her hands together in a prayer. I got scared and went back to bed. The tapping continued for a few minutes and then stopped. 4 nights later, the tapping woke McGueen. This time, she was pressing both hands against the glass. Her mouth was moving, but I couldn't hear her. Her breath fogged up the window, which was strange, as it was mint warm. She kept mouthing the same words. It looked like she was saying, "Help me." Then she stepped born her yellow sweat, and I saw something THTMD me ponic. There was a dark stenata like a blotch of paint or mud. I ran to my parents' room, crying. My dad went to my room, but the light was and the girl was gone. They convinced me it was a nightmare. The next day, the girl didn't show up. I climbed OURBCK fenced. Found Mrs. Murphy in her garden. I asked her about the girl in the third-floor room. She stopped smelling abruptly. She asked how long I HDBI'd seeing her. I described the dark hair, the yellow sweater, and how she never opened her window. Mrs. Murphy told me to go back inside. Things changed a lot after THT day. My parents moved my bed to the opposite wall. They hung thick curtains, the kind biblical, the light. When I asked why, they said there was to help me sleep better. But I knew something was wrong. My mum told me I couldn't play the waving Jemmy. I was too old for imaginary friends. I tried talk be the window anymore when I asked why, she said. She just repeated that. I couldn't go toy was confused and hurt. No one would explain anything to me. My friend was gone. It was yet Weston. Until high school THT, my mum finally told me what Mrs. Murphy had said. She belonged to a family who he daughter, Enum Jenna. She was 11 when she wicker right in front of the house, just after school. She was wearing Guy Louter, THT, thoughtful day. The family moved out shortly after, as when the Murphys bought the house. They tried to use that third-floor room, but ended up sealing it completely after. Things kept happening. I'm 34 now. I live in developer Bosha, with no windows facing other buildings. It's not enough windows, and even reflective surfaces. CCI dent. I have had a few dreams about that girl over the years. They aren't bad dreams. I never see her with the stain on her sweater, but she doesn't smile in my dreams like she used to smile Tame IV. Final reflection: these 3 stories. They are different, but they all share the same signature. The violation of her safe space. My grandparents' house, their boarding school room, my childhood broom. Places that should have been sanctuaries, but were invaded by something that shouldn't have been there. I don't know what these things wanted. The silent guest, the creature THT, Hoggle in the yellow sweater. I don't know if they were ghosts, demons, or just the manifestation of my own paranoia. Ted Salt, but I know darkness. But they did. They stole my safety. They taught me that fear isn't just in youth in the daylight, in the smile of Farume, in the plea of Fafriend. Fear isn't what you see. It's the anticipation of wailing is. It's the loss of control over your own reality. You can't see. It's the doubt thond. That's why I'm telling this. Not to get rid of the fear. I know it will never leave. But me bay confessing, ICN phenolicit. That the world is a place where salt is forbidden, where the dead beg for help, and where the most terrifying thing of all is the certainty that danger didn't go. It's just waiting, and it knows where you sleep.